Professor Putnam, I'd like to start our discussion from a standpoint which I think a very large number of our viewers occupy anyway. And it's really this. Since the 17th century, I suppose, there's been a spectacular decline in religious belief, especially in the West and especially among educated people. And for millions, the role that used to be taken in life by a worldview based on religion has been increasingly supplanted by a worldview based on science, or at least purporting to be derived from science anyway. And this is still enormously powerful in the hold that it has on people's minds throughout the West. Probably it affects all of us. So I think I'd like to start this discussion by getting you to pin down that scientific world outlook which is so influential in the modern world and which will be underlying a lot of what we're going to have to talk about.
Let me dodge the question a little bit by talking not about what scientists think now, but what many scientists thought 100 years ago or 75 years ago. Think of doing a crossword puzzle. You might have to change a few things as you go along, but towards the end, everything fits and things get added on one step at a time. That's the way the progress of science looked for 300 years. In 1900, a famous mathematician, David Hilbert, gave a list of 50 mathematical problems to a World Congress of Mathematicians, which are still very famous. And it's very interesting that he included one problem which we would not call a mathematical problem very early in the list. I think it's problem 3, which was to put the foundations of physics on a satisfactory basis.
Just a small task. And that was for mathematicians.
That was for
not
mathematicians,
for physicists.
Not for physicists.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
The idea is
just to tidy it up.
That's right.
Yes.
The idea is Newton, Maxwell, Dalton, and so on had all put in all the parts of the story, and now it was just for mathematicians to basically clean up the logic, as it were. I think in a conversation we had a couple of days ago, you described this as a treasure chest view, and I like that picture. Because here's this big chest that we're just filling up. It's an accumulation, and you don't have to subtract, you don't have to take out. Occasionally you make a little mistake, but basically the idea is, or to shift the metaphor, like building a pyramid. You put down the ground floor, then the next floor, then the next floor, and it just goes up. That's part of it, this view of knowledge as growing by accumulation. The other part of it is the idea that the special success of the sciences, and obviously what we're impressed by is success. This culture values success, and science is a successful institution. But there's the idea that science owes its success to using a special method. And that comes partly from the history of science, from the fact that Newton, for example, lived after Bacon and was influenced by Bacon, and the idea that empirical science has grown up together with something called inductive logic. And this idea that there's a method, the inductive method, and that the sciences can be characterized by the fact that they use this method and use it explicitly and consciously, as it were. Not unconsciously, as maybe someone who's learning cooking might be using it, but pretty deliberately and explicitly. So I think that these two things, the idea of knowledge is growing by accumulation and growing by the use of a special method, the inductive method, are the key elements of the old view.
Yes.